Hello, this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a marvelous day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. Well, today I'm going to talk about a young man who learned something very important in Africa. They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. You also can't teach an old man new tricks. That's how come you got all these old men on social media, these passport brothers and these what they call themselves red pill and this save yourself black men and manosphere. A lot of these are old black men, old failed black men who are angry and bitter because their life didn't turn out like they wanted it to, and they're blaming it on black women. But a young man can actually learn something. This young man's name is Auston Hollerman. I think he came on the scene last year sometime when he had done some kind of a video about black women or about modern women as they call it. But he had apparently failed in the United States, and he was mad at women too, and he was blaming all of his problems on women. So he was going to get his passport and leave. And he did. And he went to Brazil. And he went down there showcasing his depravity and lack of respect for women and portraying the women of Brazil as loose and cheap. Well, he got on the radar of the activist women in Brazil. And I guess in America they would call those women feminists. And black women in America hate to be called feminists. So black women in America would say, well, I'm not a feminist, I'm this or I'm that. But those women in Brazil didn't care what he called them. They got him on the airwaves and on social media to the point that they got him kicked off the continent of South America because Brazil is the largest country in South America. And when you get kicked out of Brazil and go running to Colombia, which is what I think he did, he ended up getting kicked out of Colombia too. They went after him with a vengeance, and his name was ringing all over the country. He was headline news on every media platform, newspapers, television, radio, and social media. They all knew Auston Hollerman. Those women ran him out of the southwestern hemisphere, and then he decided to pack his bags and go running off to Asia as if that was going to be a better experience for him, as if word doesn't get around. So he was going to take his depravity to another continent, take advantage of the women, filming the women and sending back all kinds of nasty things about women, or filming the women and talking about the women and telling everybody, come on down, come on down. Well, he went running off to Asia, and he discovered that Asia is more racist than America. And that takes some doing. So he didn't have a good landing pad. So this is what he got, listening to these old failed men talking about women, disrespecting women, going somewhere where he can behave like he wants to behave, and nobody says anything. Labeling the women, maybe not in those words, but insinuating that those women were easy and cheap. And so those women said, no, you don't get to do that here. And they ran him out of there. So this red pill crowd, this save yourself black men crowd, this manosphere crowd, they have a problem with American women. And it's really black women that they have a problem with, but they know if they keep saying black women, black women, black women, YouTube is going to flag them. So they call it modern women. They had a problem with modern women. And black women listen to white feminist women. Now they love white women as long as black women have a problem with white women. But when black women decide we don't have a problem with white women because white women stand up for themselves, now you're a feminist and you're listening to these white women, and they're white women and they're feminists have torn up the black family. This is the kind of stuff you get from them. And there is something that I've noticed about these men and the manosphere and the red pill and all this garbage that they call themselves. If one of them decides to grow up and look in the mirror and start telling the other ones that they need to grow up and look in the mirror, oh, them's fighting words. Now they start dragging those men just like they do black women. They call them simps and beta males and all kinds of names because they can't stand for another man to tell them that they're acting like children and they need to grow up and act like men. America is no joke. America is arguably the most sophisticated country in the world. You just cannot be a bum and think you're going to make it big in America. You have to put something into it. You need to have an education. You have to graduate from high school reading on a higher level than the second grade. So you have to put something into your own development. And then when things don't work out for you, see, in America, for black men, the popular thing to do is just blame everything on women. But they are not responsible for your failure. If you are a grown man and you have failed at everything in your life, you're going to have to look in the mirror and find out what you did wrong. So nowhere else in the world do men get to blame all of their failures on women, except, black men in America. And that is why I advise black women, if you want to be with a black man, look for a boule man. A boule man, to me, is different than what Philip Scott and some of these other people are calling boule. A boule man, to me, is a black man who knows that he needs to have a reliable way of making a living for himself, and that he has to compete with other men in order to stand toe-to-toe with other men, and that begging for food stamps and hanging out in his grandmama's back room making videos about women is not the most responsible way to be a man. So Auston Hollerman went to Africa, and I was watching his videos because I was wanting to see if he was going to take his same depravity to Africa and how long it was going to take him to run out. But somewhere along the way, somebody got to him and started talking to him about how you have to behave on another continent and how you have to behave around people that you don't know. You just can't go to another continent or go to another country throwing your weight around and blowing smoke in people's faces and telling them how special and important you are. You go there and you subject yourself to learning so you don't make a fool out of yourself everywhere you go. So I'm happy to say that in Africa, he has toned it down and he's acting like he's got some sense. I believe that it makes a difference that he's in an environment of black people who are civilized and who behave differently than black people in America. There was a time when, as a Southern black person, I know this to be true, there was a time when black Americans in the South were easygoing, respectful, yes ma'am, no ma'am, thank you, please, excuse me. We were raised that way. But somewhere along the way, we realized that we were the only ones trying to be nice. And so then it became, okay, well, go for what you know. And then what you know is you're going to get off my feet. You're not going to push me up against the wall. And if you do, I'm coming out swinging. So that's what we had to change because of the environment that we were living in. But when they get back to Africa, where people may behave differently, then they can resort back to the decent person that you know you can be. So that seems to be what happened to Auston Hollerman. And so instead of focusing on taking pictures of women and streetwalkers, because that's all he was doing down there in Brazil and in Thailand, I think, or wherever he was in Asia, taking pictures of streetwalkers, that's what it appeared to be to me. Showcasing women and suggesting that these women are easy and cheap and you don't have to pay that much and all that kind of stuff, enticing black men to come to a place like that where they can just exercise all of their degeneracy without having to be responsible for their behavior. That's what he was broadcasting. But lo and behold, he has changed his tune. Now he is taking young African women, beautiful women, on dates, and they'll go into different places. He's been on a safari, he's going to a museum, he's doing clubs, and he's seeing a different side of African people, a side that you're never going to see as long as you're listening to National Geographic and these white men call themselves travelers going into Africa to tell you everything that's wrong. Auston Hollerman is actually showing Africa in a much more positive light. And in so doing, he looks better. He's working with African businessmen, giving them a chance to promote their business. And he's promoting the countries, which is encouraging tourism in Africa. So he has become, or maybe I should say he is becoming a responsible black American man in Africa. At 24, he's only 24 years old. And that's how come he's teachable, because he hasn't failed at everything yet. But he is presenting Africa and African women, showing the beautiful diversity of African women and of the continent, the different countries, and telling how the cultures are different and about the food. It's really more interesting. It's really more like a traveling channel now. And I don't know if he's doing some kind of collaboration with the African governments to promote tourism to their country. Hopefully that is what he's doing. But he has turned out to be a much more pleasant young man who acts like he's got some sense. And the reason I'm doing this video is because I just saw a video of him saying, "This is why I stopped talking about modern women." I thought he was giving an honest account of the effect that Africa had had on him. And he said once he got over there and got out of the toxic environment of Western culture, he found a kind of peace. And so he stopped talking about American women. He said, "I still don't mess with them," which would indicate that he probably got his heart broken very young. But he says, he sees a different side of life and a different way of doing things. And so he wanted to share that with his subscribers, but they turned on him. They got mad, and they don't want to hear anything about any black women. They don't care where they are. And see, that is a red flag. He even said one day when he was trying to talk to his subscribers about the different diversity and the beauty of the African women, they come back with stuff like, "I don't like black women. I don't like black women." When a man says he likes women but he doesn't like black women, that to me is a red flag, that he doesn't like women. He just doesn't want to admit it. Because you can't like women and not like a whole group of women, because they're not all the same. And every black woman did not do anything to these people. So it's a situation where people, again, they either need to go to a therapist or they need to look in the mirror. But anyway, I'm going to give you a link to the video that he did talking about these men and what bums they are. He has turned on them because he sees that's not going to get you anywhere in the world, attacking people like these men are doing. All it's going to get you is some subscribers on social media. So there is a cautionary tale for young men. Do not listen to these failed, bitter, old men. But y'all go check out this video by Auston Hollerman. I found it very interesting. And I will give him this warning. He's over there with those women in Africa, and they are playing nice with him now because he's new, he's fresh, and they want to be in his videos probably. But those are still black women, so they're not going to be pushovers. Those women are smart and they are savvy. So he thinks that they're going to be, that he's going to be, oh, going to be so sweet and so feminine. Those are black women, and at a point, he's going to get that tongue. He's going to get that mouth. And I would put money on that. They are not docile. And they, just like they thought those Asian women were so docile, went down there and thought those Asian women were so docile. And then she ended up calling them fat and ugly. So you have to watch them. A woman is a woman. And we're not all that different. We might live in different cultures. But the nature of women is always going to be the nature of women. Just thought I would warn you. Check out the link to Auston Hollerman's video. If I forget to put it in the description box, please remind me. Okay, thank you for listening. Let me know what you think about the video. Subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, share the video, and as always, have a great day.